My brother's wife, Yuna, installed 4 air conditioners in the house where my mother and I live. I'm grateful for her, but honestly, I was worried about where the money came from. Don't worry, I wanted to do it. Even if she says so, I have a bad feeling. I rushed to check my passbook in my room, fearing the worst. The passbook was where it should be, and I was relieved for the moment. But my name is Sherry. I live with my mother, who is now 83 years old, named Karen. Until 2 years before my retirement at 60, I was working as a nurse, but now I'm dedicated to taking care of my mother, who has dementia. When I was 30, my father had a traffic accident and became disabled on his right side of body. Worried about him, I decided to return to my parents' house. Between work and caring for my father, everyone around me was married. Apparently, I completely missed my marriageable age. My brother, who married early and is 2 years older than me, had 3 children. My nephews and nieces, who often came to play at our house, became attached to me, and thanks to treating them as if they were my own children, I never felt lonely. I think that's one of the reasons I remained single all my life. My father passed away 7 years ago due to pneumonia. Then 4 years ago, my brother died of illness, and my mother developed dementia, perhaps due to the loneliness. It's already morning. Cherry, how long are you going to sleep? It's only 2 a.m. Let's sleep a little more. Being woken up in the middle of the night like this happens quite often, so I have been feeling tired from taking care of my mother recently. One morning, the doorbell rang. Oh, Sherry, you've got dark circles under your eyes. Here, eat this and cheer up. Yuna, my brother's wife, who lives nearby, brought us some food. Even after my brother passed away, she would visit us from time to time and would keep my mother company. Of course, she can't help with the caregiving, but when Yuna is here, I can do housework away from my mother, which is very helpful for me. Since all my children have their own families now, I have plenty of free time. If you have any problems, let me know. Thank you always, Yuna. I was truly grateful to Yuna for her kind words. Hello! Yuna came to visit as usual. Great, it looks like I can finally get some housework done. I had taken my mother to the hospital early in the morning, so I hadn't done much around the house today. Cleaning, laundry, preparing dinner. There's a lot to do. While Yuna was looking after my mother, I hurried to finish as much housework as possible. Amidst this, I suddenly peered into my mother's room, and there was only my mother inside. Where could Yuna have gone? My mother seemed to be in a good mood, so I returned to my chores. After finishing folding the laundry, I peeked into my mother's room, and again, only my mother was there. She was quietly knitting. Where did Yuna go? I don't know. Could she be in the bathroom? That's quite long though. Maybe she's not feeling well. With that thought, I headed to my room to put away the folded laundry. I was surprised to see Yuna standing in my room, which should have been empty. What on earth are you doing in my room? This house doesn't have air conditioning, does it? I was just looking around to see where to install them, Yuna replied calmly. She could have asked me before entering my room. I was irritated by the fact that she had entered my room without my permission, but she continued talking without noticing my feelings. I want to gift an air conditioner for your room, Sherry. You've been taking care of my mother-in-law, and it's also a token of my everyday gratitude. Thank you very much. While I'm glad to have an air conditioner, the fact that she had entered my room without my permission still bothered me, but I think Yuna meant no harm. The fact remains that I am always grateful to Yuna for keeping my mother company. She is my sister-in-law after all, so I should be patient. With that thought, I decided not to say anything about her entering my room without my permission this time. The air conditioners were installed 2 weeks later. A total of 4, 1 in each room that we use. Thankfully, Yuna took care of everything from the paperwork to the payments. Thank you, Yuna, but what about the money? Don't worry about it. I did it because I wanted to, she said with a smile. Really, thank you for everything. While I pretended to be genuinely grateful, I was filled with anxiety. Yuna, who has always been a housewife, even now she should be living on a pension and the savings my brother left, but it's quite lavish to be able to buy 4 air conditioners all at once. But looking back, it's not just the air conditioners this time. There was a time when Yuna's nieces and nephews, Yuna's grandchildren, complained about Yuna always taking them out to eat. Just like their parents, they were very fond of me and they called me Granny Sherry and treated me like their real grandmother. I want to eat Granny Sherry's homemade cooking again. The children who used to come to my house to play around told me once that they were tired of the heavy restaurant-style meals they had every time they went to Yuna's house. Moreover, dining out with so many people must cost a lot. Hearing this, I started to worry about Yuna's financial situation. Another time, my nephew, who had just graduated from high school and started working, came to visit in a brand new car. "Where did you get that car?" I asked with wide eyes.
"This? Granny Una bought it for me,"
he said. "She did? Yuna did?" I was so surprised that I was at a loss for words, but he went on to share a shocking fact. Apparently, Yuna has been buying expensive presents like cars and bags for her other grandchildren. How does she have so much money? Worried, I asked her children and grandchildren multiple times, and they all said Granny Yuna seems to have made a fortune in gambling. Remembering all these incidents, I suddenly felt alarmed. I wonder. I quickly went to my room to check my bank book. Phew, there it is. I had worried that Yuna, who had intruded into my room the other day, might have stolen it, but it turned out that was an overreaction. Just to be sure, I decided to check my mother's bank book as well. I thought it was in the drawer where we kept the bank books and seals, but it wasn't there. "Mother, wasn't the bank book and seal in here?" "I checked it the other day and put it back." I wondered if she might have misplaced it. With that thought in mind, I started to search all over the house, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I wonder. I steeled myself and called Yuna. "Hello, Yuna. My mother's bank book and seal are missing. Do you know anything about it?" "I don't know. Did your mother hide it somewhere? You know dementia patients can become paranoid about theft and the like." Yuna refused to cooperate, but it's nowhere to be found, so I'm considering contacting the police. I played my trump card. "The police? I'll help look. Just wait a minute." Yuna suddenly started to panic. She hung up the phone, and not long after she arrived at my house. "Here!" She handed over my mother's bank book and seal. "Why do you have this, Yuna?" She remained silent despite my question. I opened the bank book and was shocked. Since I had been paying for living expenses, my mother hadn't touched her pension, and I was certain that the balance was millions of dollars. Yet, the balance listed in the bank book had dropped to less than millions of dollars. Looking closely, I saw that a total of about $150,000 had been withdrawn in several transactions over the past year. Yuna, what is the meaning of this? Even when I confronted her, she just hung her head in silence. "Thief!" As I denounced her, she finally raised her head and retaliated. "I'm the one taking care of your mother, so isn't it fair that I get some money for that? You took all your father's inheritance." It seemed that Yuna was still upset that my brother renounced his inheritance when my father died. My brother had said to me when our father passed away, "Sherry, I'm sorry. I'm the eldest son, but I've dumped all the responsibilities of taking care of our parents on you." My brother felt guilty, thinking that I missed out on marriage because I was too busy with work and caring for our parents. Who knows if I could have gotten married even if I weren't busy. Besides, it's natural to take care of parents, I said laughing, and my brother continued.
"I would be the one who should take care of my mom. But I'm living on borrowed time. I know it's a burden, but I'm counting on you to take care of our mom from here on out, Sherry. Fortunately, my father didn't have any debts or loans, so I'm going to renounce my inheritance. So I want the inheritance to be used for my mother's care and living expenses." During that time, my brother, who had been in and out of the hospital, was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. "Thank you, but my brother also has to take care of his grandchildren, so he needs to stay healthy. Leave your mother to me." The reason my brother renounced the inheritance was like this. However, it seems that Yuna didn't think well of this, so after my brother's death, she spent several years trying to please my mother, researching the location of passbooks and seals. "Moreover, the use of this money includes allowances for great-grandchildren and your air conditioning bill." She seemed to have no ill intentions. According to Yuna, it is definitely better for my mother to use the money for herself and the great-grandchild while she's alive. I fell silent, but she started saying something incomprehensible. "As the rightful wife of the eldest son, I will definitely receive the inheritance when your mother passes away." I wonder what rightful rights she's talking about. While thinking so, I listened to her quietly, and Yuna started making such claims. Since I don't have children, it's only natural that my own children will take care of things, like the grave in the future. So as compensation, I'll inherit this house and land. She's going too far while I'm staying silent. What's she even talking about? She says it's for the sake of her mother and great-grandchild, but it's just a camouflage. Most of the money will be used for Yuna's entertainment expenses. I'm getting angry and angrier. I can't have a proper discussion with this person.
That's how I felt, so I decided to file a police report for the unauthorized use of my mother's savings. A few days later, my house was filled with my nephews, nieces, and their children.
Sherry, I'm really sorry. We heard from the police that Grandma was taking out your savings without permission.
They all apologized one by one and promised to return $15 million that Yuna had used, even if it took several years.
Don't worry about it. Grandma said not to hesitate and bought it for me, but will definitely repay the car expenses even if it takes time.
Even my nephew's child, who had become a working adult, bowed deeply to me. It seemed like all the children are reflecting on their actions, but it's still a large sum of money. You guys really lack common sense. Isn't it strange to be able to win enough at gambling to buy multiple cars? I pointed out to my nephews and nieces, who didn't doubt even when they heard that Grandma's source of income was gambling. They also nodded shyly and bowed their heads again. So how is Yuna doing? Did she say anything? When I asked, they looked apologetic and said,
Mom is being stubborn, but we'll take responsibility, so don't worry, Auntie.
Despite the attitude of Yuna, who didn't appreciate what the children and grandchildren had done, no matter how much I hated her, it wasn't enough. However, the children are reflecting on their action, and what's important is the future lives of these children who will walk a long journey. Even though it was a result of their lack of common sense, burdening these children with debt would be too pitiful. Perhaps this is a lesson in life for them. That's what I thought and said to the children. Regarding $15 million that Yuna used, I won't ask for it back. I'll withdraw the theft report as well, so don't forget about this and become sensible adults from now on. Is that clear? The children nodded firmly, and I continued. Instead of repayment, if something happens to her mother, I won't pass on any inheritance to you all. The children didn't oppose my opinion and didn't show any displeasure. I documented the decision in a written agreement and had my nephews and nieces sign it. After finishing the written agreement, my nephew's child murmured,
I'm really sorry this time, but can we still come over for meals in the future?
Of course, it seems like it would make my mom happy to see her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, so I want you to talk to her a lot too. And so we all laughed together. I'm sure these kids will be fine. They will become respectable adults, learning from this failure. That night, I decided to write a will. As I don't have any children, I had planned to leave my property to my nephews and nieces after my death. However, I changed my mind and decided to donate it to a welfare organization. No matter how good these children may be, I didn't want to leave any further financial involvement with them. 6 months passed since then. Mom, are you okay? Who are you? I'm Sherry, your daughter. Oh, you came. How nice. My mother's dementia had become so severe that she couldn't recognize me anymore. Taking care of her wandering and toileting had become difficult, so I had her admitted to a nursing home about 3 months ago. Since then, my life consisted of moving to an apartment near the nursing home and visiting my mother every day. As a result of putting my mother to the nursing home, I decided to sell my house and land and move to a place unknown to Yuna and the others. I haven't seen Yuna since that incident. I withdrew the theft reports as promised, but I didn't receive any contact from her after that. But I had anticipated that as well. However, I was growing increasingly frustrated with her. Sherry, smile and laugh. One day my mother's words struck me. If I continue feeling like this, I will become a boring person who only hates others. With a sense of crisis, I made the decision to leave my familiar home and start a new life in a new place. Although it was a belated report, I only informed my nephews and nieces that I moved out of the state.
I still can't forgive her, right?
Although I feel sorry, even if her mother passes away, I won't contact you all. Frankly, I don't want to see or have any involvement with Yuna ever again.
Understood. We're really sorry for causing you so much pain. We all loved Granny Sherry's beef pie, even from afar. We wish for Granny Sherry's happiness.
A single tear trickled down my cheek in response to their kind words. These kids were truly better than I had imagined. I want to see them again. Although it may be inappropriate, if Yuna passes away before me, I hope they'll someday eat the beef pie I make. As I gazed at the sunset, I thought about such things. Well then, Mom, I'll come again. You had a beautiful smile today, Sherry. My heart leaped at my mother's words. By entrusting my mother to the nursing home, I gained the time to take walks along the nearby riverbank every morning and evening. The expansive sky gently enveloped me. From caring for patients as a job to taking care of my father and mother, I spent my life without the luxury of watching the sky or feeling the wind. I have no regrets. However, maybe if I had spent a bit more time for myself, I might have led a completely different life. Watching the birds soar into the vast sky, I thought so. You had a beautiful smile today, Jerry. I recalled those words my mother said as if forgetting everything from yesterday, even from 30 minutes ago. Yes, it's because me myself made myself who I am today. I left that familiar place behind to live a new life. From now on, I'll spend my days with more laughter. The bird that took flight earlier seemed to be enjoying its freedom in the sky. Feeling the wind, I will live here. With that pleasure in my heart, I looked up at the bright sky.